Hello, everybody. This is Laura. You're watching the Beanbird 2 channel where we talk about testimonies and the goodness of God. Now, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to call this video today. I have a lot I want to talk about regarding body image and identity and cosmetics and all the things that we wrap into, our self-worth. And this is a really tricky thing. I've been thinking about this for a couple days about what I want to say, and I want to be really vulnerable and share some things because I think that's the most authentic when we're like just real and raw and truthful about what we go through. Because I think a lot of times we try to hide burdens that we carry or struggles that we're going through because we don't want people to know that we're thinking something or feeling something. And I feel like this message will be good because I think that there's a lot of women, especially, that think these things privately and maybe are afraid to talk about it. And so what I want to start with is that a lot of times we live in a broken world and people say things to us all the time that's hurtful. And it's just part of living in the world is you're going to hear people make fun of you or say things to you. And sometimes when somebody insults you in a way, it can hurt you and like almost plant a weed in your heart where you're like, ooh, that really hurt. And you kind of like hold on to it a little bit. Okay. And as I was thinking about this video and what I wanted to say, to be honest, I started to feel angry and I started thinking, why do I feel angry? And I started thinking, I have some healing I need to take place in this. And so I prayed to God. I was like, Lord, I think I'm uncovering these feelings inside I didn't even know were there. And I feel like I need to forgive some people in my life as I was talking about these things and thinking about these things with the Lord. And I think that that's important too, that, if we feel angry about something or, to take that to the Lord and say, Lord, I think I need to forgive some people because I'm feeling something inside. And it's okay to admit that to God. So I want to share a story about something that happened to me, personal testimony. But first I want to say, I don't want to turn this into like a rant. I want to be very careful that I want to use this for edification. I want to start with something that my mom said, but I don't want to disrespect my mom. I mean, I think she was a broken person saying broken people things. And I can separate now who she is as like the person that Christ loved and died for from the person who has hurt herself and maybe said some things that were wrong and inappropriate. So I forgive my mom and I love my mom, and I realize that she is separate from the hurtful things that she may have done or said in the past. And I think it's important that we kind of differentiate the person from the sin, or, it helps us forgive people too. So when I was little, my mom would take us into changing rooms and we would change into school clothes, for back to school shopping. And she would come into the dressing room with us, and that was fine. When I was a kid, a lot of moms do that. But then after I got older, you start getting into middle school, high school. I was like, can I just try on the clothes and then I'll come out of the dressing room and I'll show you what it looks like? And my mom would be like, don't be ridiculous. We're just girls. Let me in the changing room with you. It's a waste of time for me to sit out and have you come out every time you try on something. Just let me come in with you. And she kind of made me feel silly for wanting some privacy, in developing into a woman. And I think that her heart was probably fine there, but it bothered me as a kid. And then when she would ask me, well, why do you need all this privacy? And I'd be like, well, because I'm changing, I'm turning into a woman now. And she'd be like, oh, don't be ridiculous. And so I was always, genetically a small chested person, and my mom would kind of diminish that by saying, like, those aren't breasts, those are just fried eggs. You can change in front of me, it's fine, that's nothing to see. And even though, I mean, it really hurt me. I'm trying to explain that really hurt me. It kind of made me feel like if I didn't have like I didn't have, like I wasn't a woman, I guess is what I felt like. And then I started to kind of believe this lie that the size of my chest dictated, how feminine I was, or if I was a woman or not. And that's just a lie from the enemy. It was like a weed that was planted in my heart. But for some reason, I held on to that, and I just kind of believed that about myself. I was like, if only I had a bigger chest, then I would be more of a woman. And how do you know that, like, the enemy, he's among us with his demon crew, and they're always, the enemy's looking for ways to tear us down. And so when I got involved with the bad boyfriend that I've shared with you before in previous videos, I mean, even without me ever saying this was an insecurity in my life, I never communicated that to him before. But then when we were dating, out of the blue, he says to me, if I paid for you to get breast implants, would you do it? And immediately I was like, no, of course not. But then I went home and I was like thinking that insecurity in my heart, like that seed of that weed was in my heart, just kind of was watered by him saying that comment about like, hey, if I paid for this, would you do it? And he brought it up out of the blue. And but we know that's not out of the blue. The enemy knows how to get to us and how to, aggravate that wound. And I just continued to latch onto this. Like I need to get implants. Started getting in my head. And of course you watch TV and you look at the people on TV and I'm like, well, look at how they look. And that's not how I look. And how come I don't look like that? And for me, it was that, but for other people, it's other things, right? I mean, we have laser surgeries and Botox, and now we can't have any lines on our faces because that's not, popular. We can't possibly age like a normal person. We have to have lip injections, and it's just very common, everything's expected, like teeth whitening and hair color. And we're kind of like inundated with all this stuff. Like we need to be different. We need to change ourselves. We need to look like the people on TV. We need to be photoshopped. We have to have makeup on all the time. And this isn't about coming against like makeup. I wear makeup sometimes. I've colored my hair. I do things like that. I'm not saying that those things are wrong, but we have to watch where it's coming from in our heart when we do those things. Like when I was in middle school, my blonde hair I was blonde as a child. And then as I got older, my hair started to turn brown. And my mom, she was like, you can't have brown hair. You have to have blonde hair. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of my hair naturally darkening. I was like, why do I need blonde hair? And she was like, well, blonde is beautiful. And you have to be blonde to be beautiful. And again, I started to believe that lie. So then as I got older, I started thinking, well, if I have brown hair, I'm not beautiful. So I have to have blonde hair. And when I was 14, my mom colored my hair. I didn't ask for it. It was just a matter of fact. We're coloring your hair because it's turning brown. And I was like, okay. I just kind of went along with it. And I went along with it, not really caring about whether she colored my hair or not. I was like, well, if it makes her happy, fine. But I didn't really feel like I wanted my hair colored. I wasn't against it, but I wasn't like, yeah, I need to do this either. But by the time I was 18, I began to equate my identity with I had to be blonde. And if I wasn't blonde, I wasn't beautiful. And I became a little addicted to hair color. And after I went through a lot of the turmoil with my parents' divorce, I really took it out on my hair. I colored my hair black, I colored it red, I colored it platinum, and I was always changing my hair color. Somehow changing my hair color made me feel like I had a sense of power and control in my life. And it wasn't until I met my husband that he told me, he's like, I don't know why you color your hair. He said, you could just have it natural. And I was like, well, blonde is beautiful. And he's like, I don't think so. He goes, I think that all different kinds of hair color is beautiful. It doesn't have to be blonde. He goes, there's beautiful brunettes, there's beautiful blondes, there's beautiful redheads. Like there's all different kinds of good looking hair colors. It doesn't have to be just one. And then he said something, this is what he said that really shook my world, is he said, I don't know why you think that you can color your hair better than God can. And I just was shook by that. I was like, wow, that is so profound Why do I feel like I can change myself to be better than what God created me to be? And I started thinking that the root of that was like my own insecurity, past hurts, and maybe pride. And I thought I really needed to process through this. And so I decided I was going to go back to my natural hair color, stopped coloring it. I had to dye it brown so that I could let my roots grow out to its natural color. And I went through a lot processing as my hair was brown, because at first it felt painful. It felt hard to have brown hair. And I tried to process through that, like, no, this is the way God made me. And then people started saying things like, wow, your hair color looks really good on you. And I don't even know why you colored your hair before. And I'm like, I started to appreciate my natural hair color. And I was still kind of stuck on the breast implants thing. And so there was a moment where that changed for me. When I was watching a video about a lady that had some implants, and then they got infected and she got really sick, and she ended up having them removed in the end. And what she said when it was all over is, she said that I feel more beautiful now having the implants removed with my scar than I ever felt before I had the implants or with the implants. That her sense of femininity and her sense of beauty was stronger now with the scar, because she finally had learned to appreciate who God made her to be versus trying to be something different, not willing to accept, and just kind of dealing with the emotional trauma of whatever, came from that. And that was her story. And when she said that, I started thinking about how like we can feel beautiful and not have it attached to anything. And then I started thinking about how Satan attacks our beauty, right? And I had this verse I want to look up real quick. I actually already pulled it up, but let's see if I can find it here. It describes Lucifer, basically. And it was about his beauty. Okay, so Lucifer, before he was fallen, it says that he was perfect in beauty. And that was in Ezekiel 28:12 through 19. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. And when we think about how Lucifer was perfect in beauty, and now he's Satan, doesn't it make sense that Lucifer, Satan, would want to attack our beauty, to tear us down? And you see it in, the media and Hollywood. The industry is all about, you need to be this. And if you're not this, then that's not good enough. And you're not allowed to age anymore. Like, heaven forbid you have frown lines here, or smile wrinkles, or crow's feet. Like, you're not allowed to age. And why can't we appreciate that we've aged and the Lord has blessed us with years to age, and be thankful that we have laughed and have cried or have frowned sometimes because the sun was in our eyes, and just appreciate, Lord, thank you for letting me live these 43 years. I'm thankful to be alive and to have had all this experience. And I was also thinking about the Bible verse in Isaiah 53, where it describes Jesus. It said he had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. Now look at the difference there. Jesus himself, our Savior, was described as having no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. And then in the previous passage in Ezekiel, Lucifer was described as being perfect in beauty and wisdom. So Jesus came to earth in his earthly form humbly. And we know that charm is deceptive. In Proverbs, it says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is greatly to be praised. And I have learned from these experiences, from things that had happened to me with the hair color and going through like the whole insecurity of my body and how I felt like I needed to look, for me to really realize that, I mean, you say it sounds easy, but that what I look like is not important. It's who I am on the inside. And we hear it all the time, and it starts to sound really cliche, but it's so true. And there's saying it, and then there's also like believing it, and they're different things. And I think that it shows up in cosmetics in our world, but we also see it with milestones. Like, if I could only get accepted to this college, then I'll be okay. If I could only, go to this work at this Fortune 500 company, then I'll be good enough. If I could only earn a certain salary, then I would have really made it. If I could just live in this neighborhood, if I could just know this person, if I could just have this brand of purse, or, we tie these things to, if I could just reach this thing, then I'll have value. Then I'll be good enough. Then I'll measure up. But Satan keeps that lie as a carrot that just keeps getting farther and farther and farther away. And sometimes Satan overplays his hand, and we can see so clearly, like, oh my gosh, I see what's going on here. I mean, today, there's got to be more cosmetic surgeries done now than ever before in history. I don't have statistics for that, but I just believe that's probably true based on what we see pushed in the media and on TV. I mean, even the newscasters, everybody has that cosmetic look. And again, I'm not saying coloring your hair is wrong or wearing makeup is wrong, but we can't use those things to fill an emotional void in our heart. And we have to accept that our identity is in Christ, and that we're made in God's image, and what a beautiful thing that really is. He gives us our self-worth, and I'm more comfortable now in my own skin than I've ever been in my whole life. And I no longer desire to have implants. I don't desire to have Botox. Although, to be honest, I went to the dermatologist and asked what a quote was for Botox, and it was something really high. It was like $250 every, I forget, 3 months or something like that, to get rid of this like line on my forehead. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if I have a line on my forehead, because you know what? I'm 43 years old and I'm aging, and that's just a part of life. And now I'm looking forward to Jesus coming in the rapture. I'm looking forward to heaven. I'm looking forward to living a holy life. I have shifted my focus from earthly things to kingdom things. And I want to say something to you watching. If you've felt like you can identify with this message at all, I would love it if you would leave a comment. It really does help. Sometimes I start talking on here and I think, who am I talking to? Is this matter at all to anyone? Am I just rambling these thoughts? I hope not. I hope that it touches somebody. Oops, sorry about that. I hit the camera. But I hope it touches you. And I want to say that you don't have to change anything. God made you the way you look on purpose. And that is for his plan, and that we can accept, who we are. And when we have, it's such a wonderful thing when we have somebody who loves us, who sees us with different eyes than we see ourselves with. When I did my first video, I watched it back and I cringed. I was like, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like, my eyes look weird. One eye is bigger than the other eye, and I see this line on my forehead, and I'm finding all the reasons why I should just delete the video and not post it, and just, forget this whole idea of making a video at all. Just forget it. And I fight that. Every time I come on camera, I fight that thought of, why am I doing this? Nobody cares, or, I don't know. But the thing is that, where was I going with that? That we have to stay focused, that God has given us exactly what we need to have to fill the plan that he has for our lives, and that it doesn't involve us having to be perfect, that he accepts us how we are, and our friends love us for who we are. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. My friend, she watched my video, the one that I wanted to delete, the first one, and she said to me, Laura, when I looked at your face, I didn't see any of those things. All I saw was all your kids' various facial expressions when you talked. I was like, oh, that's this kid, and oh, that facial expression is that kid, and oh, that's the face that the other kid makes, and she's like, and I just saw the beauty of all your kids' faces showing, revealed back at me as you talked. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing that I've heard in a long while. I was like, that is the nicest thing you could say to me. Like, we all need a friend like that who can look at us and say, I don't see any of those things when I look at you. Because we already know like every freckle we have or every imperfection we have, and we judge ourselves and we hate ourselves. But to have somebody look at you and just say, I don't see any of those things when I look at you. And we know that Jesus doesn't look at us that way. He thinks we're beautiful. We're the apple of his eye. He loves us, and he made us exactly as we are. And I just want to close with the statement that I said, that my husband had said. Why do we think that we can change and make ourselves better than what God made us to be? So I hope that that's helpful. I hope that that's meaningful. Have a wonderful day. You're beautiful, my friend. Don't believe the lies of the enemy. Don't water that weed in your heart. Just let Jesus be the exterminator and take those weeds out. Get healing. And healing comes from forgiving. Forgive people of those hurts. Let go of that anger. If you've been abused, if you've been manipulated, if people have said hurtful things to you, which I know that we've all heard hurtful things, we need to forgive and let go. Get that healing and rest your arms into the Father. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.